not a lot of companies that I am willing to shill for. However, there are a few, and this is definitely one of them. What you're looking at is the top-down view, anyway, of a Filter Queen vacuum cleaner. This is a Model 31, which indicates that it was built sometime in the 60s. So, let me start out by saying, do not be intimidated by the length of this video. If you're here just to get the overview of why I would choose a Filter Queen vacuum over any other, then stick around. You won't have to wait until the whole video. I'm going to do an overview, and then for those that want to know a little deeper about them, I'm going to actually do a deep dive. I'm actually going to disassemble it, and I'm going to show folks just why it is such an awesome choice for a vacuum. Because let's face it, this is a tool. Whether you're vacuuming your living room floor or what have you, this is a tool. And I do, you know, when doing repair work, a lot of times I got to do some cleanup of the work, or even around the house. It's not just the floors that need vacuumed, but my computers. They have to be cleaned out periodically. The one that I use has to be done usually about once a month. It really has to be kind of all gone through and cleaned out well. Otherwise it just looks nasty, and all that dust is not good for it. So this vacuum cleaner is a great choice for being able to do all those different kinds of things. However, the design of this vacuum is far superior to anything I've ever seen in the market other than this. So I learned about Filter Queen first because me and my dad, we were doing some job hunting together, and there was a company in Belleville that was, you know, promising the world and everything, and turned out what it was vacuum cleaner sales. And my dad passed. He passed. I bit, and I'm like, okay, I'll give it a shot. And so I was trying to sell these things, and at the time they were like $1,800 to buy them. And here I am trying to sell these things. I wasn't very successful at that. However, through the training on the vacuum cleaners and just working with them and understanding how things work and whatnot, I learned real quick that this was so far superior to the others in design. This thing is a tank. Yes, it is a canister vacuum. However, the good thing is the power nozzle for your carpet floors is super light. I mean, this thing doesn't weigh, I don't have a scale handy, but man, I'd be surprised if it weighed over about 4 or 5 pounds maybe. So it's not very heavy, but it's built like a tank. We'll get into that a little bit later. I will show the bottom of it. I would imagine that the new ones are still the same with the metal plate bottom. I will be putting in images throughout this video showing you different parts and how much you would expect to pay for those particular parts for these vacuums. Because like you can go on eBay right now and you can get just the canister alone for super cheap, like under $100. You can find them left and right on eBay and buy them. And then you can just add all the other stuff if you need to, if that's how you choose to do it. You can piece it all together if you wanted to. Or they have used ones on eBay. I'm going to be showing pictures of those. And they range, you know, usually starting around 200 plus shipping on up. Usually for the units that are complete, as in have the power nozzle. This is the power nozzle. Have the power nozzle and the main canister unit. Now some of those, if you're paying around $200, you might be missing some of your other attachments. I have all of them that came with this vacuum. There's one you don't see here. It's in the bedroom. It's the bare floor attachment. We never use it. But there's your crevice tool. I love this dusting brush. Any good vacuum has a good dusting brush. This is an incredible dusting brush. And then of course this is for like your upholstery and your curtains and all that good stuff. So fabric kind of stuff. So, and then of course you can slide that off there. I think that's for like your curtains if I'm not mistaken. I'm not exactly sure, but there you go. I need to replace the ring on mine because it's broken there. It normally holds the crevice tool there. and so I need to replace that ring. And then this is a cord keeper. Normally it holds the cord. Once you have it all wrapped up around the unit, it'll hold the cord in place, but that piece is broken there, so I do need to replace that. I got to put a baffle into it. I'll show you all that stuff as I get into it. Why is this such a good choice for a vacuum? So the thing looks like R2-D2. That doesn't make it a good choice. However, let me show you just the basic design of it. Let me pull the top off of it, which is where the magic, is made. The magic happens in here, though. The magic is made in the unit I'm setting on the floor, and we'll get to that in a moment. So this is not a new cone. I wasn't going to replace my filter cone just to do this video, because the cones, they last a while, and you can just keep kind of shaking them off and dusting them off, and they'll last a little bit longer. Now, this vacuum is from the 1960s, so yeah, it's not in the best, cleanest shape. It's not a brand new vacuum or nothing, so deal with it. So this is the inside. Let me point a couple of things out to you. So how this vacuum works is when it draws air in through the inlet, which is facing me right here. This is the inlet. When it draws air into the inlet, there is automatically a 90-degree that air has to curve around in order to get into the vacuum cleaner, okay? So what that is going to do is that is going to create a vortex in this vacuum cleaner. And that vortex is really the magic that makes this vacuum work so well. So that's the big secret on why, and if you've ever used a Filter Queen, you will know how well they work. They are just incredible. They have so much, I don't want to say sucking power, because it's not about sucking power, it's about airflow. And they have so much airflow that it's incredible. And as you're vacuuming, and the more that your canister fills up, they will actually create more airflow because of the cyclonic action of that air. We used to do a demonstration where we would put a steel ball in there, and then we'd take our hand and we'd start to cover up the end of the hose to kind of simulate a clog, and you would hear that steel ball speed up on the inside of there. So you can, I don't have any steel balls. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm a pretty confident, fairly courageous kind of guy, but I don't have any steel balls handy to be able to demonstrate that for you. But that is something we did during the demonstration. So that shows you a little bit how this works. Now, the filter is pretty revolutionary in itself. It's a HEPA filter. I believe from the start they were HEPA filters. So, and we're talking what, going back to maybe the 50s? I can't remember. Healthmore Industries is what you want to look up. Or you could look up Filter Queen. You'll still find the answer. But the company is actually Healthmore Industries. And these weren't a vacuum cleaner when they started out. We weren't even supposed to call them vacuum cleaners when we sold them. They're air filtration systems, and they truly are. That's what these were actually designed for. Just like WD-40 was actually designed to repel water for NASA, for spacecraft. That's what WD-40 was invented for, not as a lubricant, as it's mostly used. So this was actually an air filtration system that they actually used in hospitals and doctors' offices and stuff like that. So what they did is they kind of changed it up enough to where they could connect attachments to it and use a vacuum attachments to it. And so you're basically vacuuming with an air filtration system. And that's the truth of it. You're vacuuming with an air filtration system. One other thing that we did during our demonstration that I can't do for you now because I don't have everything to do it, is we would take the vacuum that we had there with us, and we'd take the customer's vacuum, and we had a really super bright light. And we'd plug it in, we'd shine that super bright light. And we'd turn on their vacuum cleaner with that bright light shining on it, and you would just see dust flying absolutely everywhere. It was insane. If you've got a bag vacuum, you're not really picking up dust. You're just kind of redistributing it, and that's a fact. Mini vacuums, you're pretty much just redistributing it. So this vacuum, we could shine the light, turn it on, and you'd see nothing. The exhaust port is, it mostly comes out of where the switch is, the switch to turn it on and off. That's where you're going to get most of your air coming out of. And you can just shine a bright light on there and you'll see nothing will come out of it. So they're very good at filtering. You're truly not just vacuuming, you're actually filtering your air. You can, this is a Model 31. It has a low and a high on it. I'll show you that later. Now mine doesn't have a baffle in it, and I'll talk about that later as well. But normally if they're baffled and all of that good stuff, you turn them on low, they're really quiet. And you could put them in a room, turn it on low, and just let it filter the air. I mean, after all, that's what it was designed to do. So there's also, I'll show you on top, there's a place where you can put fragrances and stuff on top. So if you want to deodorize the air, or, you know, put whatever kind of fragrance you want in the air as you're vacuuming, you can do that as well. I'll show you that in just a moment. But the HEPA filter does a really good job of filtering. It's known as a really, really good type of filter. They've been using them forever. And they're not super expensive. They're not hard to find. You can get them at Walmart. You can buy them off Amazon. You can get filter cones everywhere. And they're not very expensive. And you can empty this canister several times and just dust off the filter to the best of your ability, and you're good to go. So let me get the lower part of the canister down there. Let me show you the power head real quick so I can get it down there too, and we'll take a deep dive in it a little bit later. So it's a good heavy duty power head here. Again, got a nice metal plate on the bottom. Nice, durable beater bar. Is very durable, and it will hold up for a long time. The motor inside of it, and we're going to take a deep dive later. I'm going to show you the motor in it. A really high quality motor. The belts, once again, you can get, I believe you can find the belts at Walmart for these. I know you can get them on Amazon and whatnot. They're not hard to get. And I think Walmart might have them, but they might not. So let me bring up the main unit here. Okay, let me take off. I'm going to take off the attachments. And I'm going to go ahead and take this ring off here. There's a tab here. You can just grab it, push it outward, and that ring will just come right off. So I can replace this ring for really, really cheap. And I'll throw a picture up on how much I can find, say on eBay or something, a replacement that's not broken, just so you can kind of see. You can buy the different components of this. That's why I was saying you can just get the canister if you can find a good deal on a really nice canister, and then buy all your attachments and stuff separately or whatever. You can do that, and I'll throw pictures up what that different type of stuff costs. So I told you about fragrances. This here is for two purposes here. You can pull that off of there, and there's like a felt pad on there, and you can put fragrance oils on that, and as you're vacuuming or filtering the air, it will also put a fragrance in the air. So that's what that felt's there for. The other thing is your hose. Let me grab my hose. Will connect to this. This is the exhaust. So if you connect your hose to that, now instead of vacuuming in, you're blowing out. So if you need something that you need to be able to blow the air out with, that's the other purpose of that there. So I'm going to leave that off because those three screws are how you pull this unit apart. So some other things before we start yanking it apart I want to point out. This is a metal cone. Again, this is a Model 31 from the 60s, some point in the 60s. So this is metal. On your newer ones, they're going to be plastic. So either way, even if they're plastic, it's not that big of a deal if you don't have a metal one. Just the design, the idea itself is, I'm going to call it bulletproof. Because one thing I didn't show you when I had the lower part of the canister up here. Okay, so the air goes in, goes 90 degrees and creates a vortex in there. you're nowhere near the fan. And when you're down in that canister, that's nowhere near the fan. So if you suck up a bolt, a nut, or whatever the case, I mean, it's crazy what you can suck up in one. It's not going to hurt it. Like most of your upright vacuums, and most of them, all the stuff you're vacuuming up goes through the fan blades. And that's just not a smart idea. That's just not how you make a good, long-lasting product. So, Filter Queen did not do that. Let me grab my screwdriver set here. Let me think of some other points real quick before I start diving deep into it. The people that just want to know why I choose it. I mean, I pretty much laid it out. The design of it is bulletproof. The motor's up in here. So in order for something to get in the motor to destroy the motor, it would have to get through this. So it'd have to get past the filter, it'd have to get through this, and then get sucked up into the motor. So again, the design itself is bulletproof. The vortex action of the air, the design and engineering behind that was just genius. It's a great vacuum. And if you're in the market for one, and if you don't mind using a canister vacuum, it's definitely something to check out. And hopefully I've flashed up enough pictures to where you can kind of get an idea of what it would cost for you to put a good, complete system together and have a generational vacuum. This is a vacuum that you could literally hand down to your kids and it will still work great. And we're getting ready to take that deep dive into this, and I'm going to show folks that you know, even the parts that they use in these are just incredible. They're just beyond incredible. And you can do a lot to repair these. You can repair every aspect of these, and some of the stuff you can repair without even buying parts. So it's pretty incredible. Anyway, I'm going to start in that deeper dive now. I'm going to take a moment, catch a breath, have a few vapes, and I'll be back. I'll bring the power head back up here. We're going to dive into that first, and then we'll get into the main unit here. Alright, starting off with the power head, I want to point out that it's made of good, thick, durable plastic. This is some pretty tough plastic that it's made out of. Of course, it's got a rubber bumper that goes around the outside of the power head so that if you bump into furniture and whatnot, you'll be less likely to damage it. Bottom, like I had pointed out, steel. And pretty simple design. Pretty easy to maintenance. Just got 2 screws in the bottom here. And then it there's a lip on the front of it. So you'll kind of have to go forward and then lift to get it off that lip. But as you can see, it's pretty bare in there. There's not much in there, right? You got your beater bar, which of course can be removed, replaced, what have you. It can be serviced. You can grease it, which I do from time to time. It probably needs to be all pulled apart and greased. I haven't done it in a little while. Then you've got your motor, which you can tell that's not some small, cheap, cheesy motor. That's a very substantial motor for a beater brush. So here's your belt. Like I said, I think you can get those at like Walmart, but I know you can Amazon and whatnot. They're not hard to find. So this is your adjustment for your height here. It's pretty simple design. You just have a cam here that rides on that's spring loaded here, and you just got a cam that rides down on that bar, which raises and lowers it. So that's how you set your different carpet height. So like I said, real simple, basic design. And hey, you know, there's nothing wrong with the theory of keep it simple, stupid. It simply works, and it works well. So that's their power head. I believe that newer models than this have lights on them and whatnot. So this one does not have the light on the front of it. So before those models. So but it works great. I had a problem the other day. The power head stopped working, and it was actually in the connector on the vacuum itself. It was simple to take care of, not a big deal. So first time that's ever happened to me. Not a big deal. They're made very, very super simple. Tighten these screws back up here and put this on the floor, and we'll jump into the main unit. Now here's the main unit. You've seen the cone filter that goes down into the canister, and you've seen that. It's also got a secondary filter for the motor, a motor filter that is underneath this cone. So I'm just going to remove the cone. And then there's your secondary filter. I need to clean mine because I clearly got stuff on it, so I'll clean it before I put it back in. So bottom, there's really not much to see there. You don't need to remove these nuts here. Not necessary. You just flip it over and come up on top, and you're going to have 3 screws up top. That's it. 3 screws. That's all that holds this unit together. I had the bigger screwdriver for a reason. It just doesn't like to fit down in there quite so well as a smaller screwdriver, but and you can get a model range easily. You can find the model range. If you know the model number, you can go online. There's a ton of websites that have, you know, the ranges, what years. These were produced in the 60s. I would have to contact Filter Queen to get a little more exact than that, but I can tell you the 60s. This does come out here. You can go ahead and pull it out. And if you're smart, you'll keep these 2 pieces together, this plate and that plate, and you'll keep the screw holes lined up, so that way you don't have to fight with lining them up later. Now maybe newer ones, they're exact, but I know on my unit here and other units I've worked on, the screw holes aren't quite exactly perfect, so you'll usually wind up with 1 or 2 off if it's not exactly on the way they had it. So this here, easy to pull off. Just kind of lift up on it and slide it off. It's just a rubber thing that slides on. It's got a couple of little nipples there that it goes down into the holes there and holds that on place. So not in place. Not much there. Let me pull the top loose. Here we go. We are now down into the guts of the unit, and there's supposed to be a baffle all up in here, and I've got some baffle up here. I don't want to pull this cardboard down because that baffling is shot. I mean, it's so deteriorated. My vacuum is much louder than it should be. I'll throw a picture up on the screen of what it will cost me to replace that baffle. It's not a big deal. I've just never done it. This vacuum, I think, was bought for just over $100, I think. 150 in there after it was shipped. And the only thing wrong with the vacuum was I had all the attachments. In fact, I've got an extra wand, the metal tubes that it comes with, you know, like you use for the power bar and stuff. I even got an extra one of those. This switch was broken. So the vacuum, you could use it. You just plugged it in, it would start running. So when you were done, you just unplugged the vacuum. So I just replaced the switch. Just bought a switch off of Amazon and replaced the switch, and it's been good to go ever since. So let me real quick show you. This is the connector, and I just had to take the connector off and fiddle with the connectors to get them it would make contact real quick with the other side of the connector. So I just did that and got it back working again. This thing, again, was built in the 1960s, so it's had a few miles put on it. I'm taking a couple of screws out, and you may not be able to see real well what I'm doing. Let me try to scoot this away a little more. Try to give you a better shot. There's a connector down here, and the housing of the connector, the outer housing is riveted into the side. So if you want to pull this loose, you got to pull these two screws out. Sorry, I can't really see it real well. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing though. Pretty simple. I thought I had it. Okay, so that's loose. Just a connector, no big deal. So, and I want to show you on this one here. This one actually popped up a little. This switch here, this is the switch on the side of the vacuum for the high and the low. To switch the vacuum high and low. On these older ones, I don't know about the newer ones, but on these older ones, if this switch starts to give you problems, I mean, if it clicks but it doesn't run in one position, it could be your contacts are dirty. You can take a screwdriver, small screwdriver, and stick it into the sides there and release them. Easier to say than do sometimes. Okay, I'm going to go in from the top where there's a couple of little legs that are tabs that are holding it. I'm trying to get behind those. Oh, I can get up under there now. Hang on. There we go. And you just work that out. I've got it loose. Let that side pop back in. You just kind of work it out. And if it falls apart, these are so super simple. Just don't lose the pieces. I'm trying not to. So all you're going to have inside of it, going to be two contacts, okay, and we'll call it an actuator, right? Your actual switch. So, and that's all there is. It's just a couple of contacts, and if they get dirty, and they could, man, it would take a lot for these switches to get dirty enough that they wouldn't work. But if that would happen, your switch quit switching. You could pull the switch apart and you could probably clean those contacts and be good to go. But they are so simple to put together, and I will show you that in a moment. I'm not going to remove this last housing to get down to the motor. I don't see the need of that. Let me just tell you, it is one heck of a beefy motor. And, I mean, it is only a few screws. Give me a moment here. Okay, twisted my arm enough. I'll do it. Heck, they were already, I think, loose-ish. That one I want to have to get pliers on. If they're easy, I'll put it that way. If they're easy, we'll do it. Well, I've only got one that's really fighting me. The one over there. Those nuts that were on the bottom of this that I showed you after I pulled the cone off, that's what's on the bottom side of these. And I'm doing good. Right up to the end, that one got hard. But I got that one out. This one, at least started easy. Hopefully it stays easy. So far, so good. That one's simple. I won't bore you with the putting it, well, I guess I could put it back together so you can see. Might be a good idea, now that I think about it. Get this where I can manage it a little better. There we go. There's spacers in these too, so I'll show you that. Okay, I told you it was a beefy motor. I meant it when I said it was a beefy motor. That was no joke. So, actually kind of dirty in there. I'm going to clean that out, and I'm going to wipe that out before I put it back together. So, there's your motor. I'm not going to tear into it any more than that. If you needed to, you could replace the brushes on the motor if you needed to do that. So, stuff like that you can get for these. No, the motors themselves, they're freaking tanks. So they will last forever as long as they're taken care of. And when I say taken care of, they pretty much don't. I mean, there's not much to do. I mean, if you do have an issue, like I say, you may have to replace the brushes in the motor or something like that. But pretty solid. The bearings in them are super, super good. They're great motors. However, if you happen to have the bearings go out in one, or the field coil went out in it by chance, you can get them. They're not hard to get, and they're not, you know, they're definitely one of the more expensive parts of the vacuum. You can get everything a lot cheaper than you can get that motor. But, you know, it's well worth it. The chance of you having to replace a motor on one of these, even if you buy an old Model 31 on eBay, it's very slim. Very slim. Even the chances of you needing to replace the brushes on them, I would say it's pretty thin. Pretty thin. So anyway, I am going to clean my hands up, and I'm going to clean these pieces up, and then I'll bring you back, and I'll throw it back together with you. Okay, now the fun of reassembling it, which is very super simple. It's pretty straightforward. You just simply place your motor unit, and then don't forget your little spacers that space that out. So, and your bolts go through the top and into the spacers and out the hole. Like real close. There we go. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and just start the nut on that. Just barely. I'm going to try to start the nut on. It's just those cheap little nuts. Okay, it started. Number 2. Yeah. You definitely don't want to tighten them up at first. You just want to... Sorry about the noises. They usually come in bunches like that when I get notifications. Okay, got that one started. We got one more to get started here. Oops, that would happen to be the wrong screw. I noticed that very quickly after I slid it through there. Nope, not that way. That way. Okay, get that one started. If I was smart while I had the camera off, I would have went and gotten. There wrench. So I didn't tighten it, I just kind of snugged it up, and I'm going to do that to all three of them before I kind of do the last tighten on them. This one I might need my pliers for. Okay, I went ahead and snug that one up tight. I don't know if I think I'm just twisting in that thing. It wasn't clicking like it usually does when you do that, so get this last one real quick. Okay, I'm gonna tighten up there. Okay, so let's go ahead and put this switch back together so you can see how it goes. You're going to have your base here, and the red wire, you want to pay attention to which way it was facing. I would highly recommend you take a picture of it. I know the red wires go towards the top, so highly recommend though you take a picture of it if it's your first time. Okay, sorry I had to interrupt the video, but my hand started hurting. I do have arthritis, and I had to get coffee, which, let's face it, that's Band-Aids for adults. So anyway, gonna put the switch back together real quick. This is super simple. If your switch ever quits working, there are contacts in there. There's 4 contacts in there. I'm trying to get that on camera. In the corners there, you see 4 round contacts. You can clean those. And then there's the pads that are on the actual switch. Oops. Yep, there's it. Clean that. Looks like I might be missing a pad actually, but my switch works fine. So anyway, you put those, the pads for the contacts go down. You want them to go down towards the bottom of that. This one's being a little bit of a pain. There we go. There we go. It's correct. So that's how those go. And then you have your, I call it an actuator there. So, and that just sits on top there. And that goes back and forth. Not a big deal. So you just kind of try to hold it together the best you can. You want to make sure that your clips aren't pushed out too far. So if they're pushed out, you kind of want to push them in so that, just so that they're tight, because you're going to want it to be tight. And this is one of those things to where you got to be, you know, relatively good with your hands, or somewhat used to working with them. Because you just get it down in there like that. Hopefully those contacts didn't fall. I don't know if they did or not. Well, no, because it won't go together. It'll fight me. And it appears to be fighting me. Okay, so those contacts moved. That's what happened. So we just pop that side back off. Not a big deal. Sometimes this stuff can be a little tricky to do. That's all there is to it. This contact fell here. That one I got hopped into plate. Nope, it's upside down. So, a lot of channels would cut all this stuff out. Because, you know, they want the appearance of perfection. But let me tell you, I've worked on a lot of stuff in life, and it doesn't go how you see it on many of the YouTube channels or TV channels even, or I always got a kick out of watching a car show back years ago. Watch a car show, they'd be putting a new camshaft. They're going to put a racing camshaft in a car, and you can tell everything had already kind of been gone through and, you know, loosened up, so that they knew that there weren't going to be any problems. Everything just went super swell the whole time, you know. That's Hollywood for you in its own little way. So, okay, that needs to be turned that way. We'll try this again. Just hold it to the best thing you can together. I can't even speak. There we go. I think I got her that time. And bend your clips in. And if you ever have a problem with that, I mean, it's that simple. Switch is working. Oops, came loose. If you ever had a problem, you see that popped out. If that continues to happen, you can do a couple of things. You could actually get away with taking a little bit of electrical tape and wrapping it around that tight. Or you could take something, you could use something like a radiator hose clamp. You can get away with that. Get it on there, and if you have problems. So usually they won't give you a problem. I'm going to switch mine several times to make sure. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's going to give me a problem. So, okay. That looks like it's going to be good to go. So, pretty simple to put those switches back together. And if you need to maintain them, it's pretty straightforward, pretty simple. Okay, now we have our socket here for the power head to put back on. And that's just these two small screws. Pretty simple. Can't see the heads very well. Okay. Make sure good and snug. Okay. That all looks good to me. So, on this, on the top, there's going to be a spot right here where the switch goes through. You want to make sure that all your wiring and stuff like that is not caught up around here, because you don't want it interfering with the switch. So you want to make sure it's all, you know, kind of off to the side there. And you just start your switch through there, just like that. And it just kind of sets down on place. So right there, it's in place. Just like that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to grab this. Going to try to keep it all in the same spot, meaning the holes lined up. There we go. I got the plate lined up. And then put this down, trying not to disturb the alignment of those so that you can find the right spots for it. Oops, hang on. Got to pull the handle up just ever so slightly when you do this, otherwise you get yourself caught in a trap like that. There we go. Now that's down in there. Now I'm going to look down. Can't tell if let me grab my other light here. Nope. There we go, right there. They're all three lined up. Get one started. After I knocked it out of alignment. It happens. Right there. And to get these three started, it makes it much easier to just snug up. And Okay, to make sure I wasn't cross-threaded at all there. Okay, snug this one up here. Make sure it's tight. Oops. Okay, that's clipped into place. Put our little bitty foot thing on here. Okay, that's on and in place. Flip it over. Put on our motor filter. Yes, there's a groove on that inner piece too as well. So my filter's a little messed up there. Not a big deal. Okay, grab our cone. Get it in place, and our long screw. And there you have it. We have completely disassembled and reassembled the Filter Queen. And all you got to do is... Oh! The casters do come off the tank, so... At least on this one. I think all of them they do. So... I don't think they made a model that the caster didn't come off of that. Okay, line up your power output for your beater brush with your intake for your hose, and then you just clip it down, just like that, and you have a good Filter Queen vacuum. Oh, I guess I could put back on my little attachment deal here. That simple. That simple. Anyway, the reason I choose a Filter Queen is because they are tanks. I can get anything and everything I would possibly need to repair them, from switches to motors to just the baffles to make it quiet again. So, they last forever. If you keep your eye out, you can pick them up cheap on eBay, sometimes at yard sales, auctions, stuff like that. So, you definitely cannot go wrong with the Filter Queen. That is a fact. So hopefully you learned something today. I hope you have a blessed and beautiful one. Shalom.